Something unexpected happened between Jin and Jungkook, and the moment it was caught on camera, fans immediately started wondering what was really going on. Jin appeared to tie Jungkook's hands while Jungkook calmly stayed in place, making the whole scene look even more mysterious. At first, it seemed like a simple playful moment backstage. But then, one small detail changed the entire feeling of the clip. The way Jin handled the situation, Jungkook's reaction, and what happened immediately afterward had ARMY looking twice. And the reason behind Jin tying Jungkook's hands might not be what you expect. Stay until the end, because the final moment is what made everyone speechless. What happened between Jin and Jungkook in this unexpected backstage moment quickly became the kind of scene that could make fans stop scrolling. At first glance, the image appears simple. Jin is standing behind Jungkook while Jungkook sits calmly in a chair, and Jin appears to be securing something around Jungkook's hands. Yet the longer the moment is observed, the more questions seem to appear. Why were Jungkook's hands being tied in the first place? And why did the entire situation look so strangely casual? The setting makes the moment even more interesting. Rather than being surrounded by a huge crowd or standing under bright stage lights, the two appear to be backstage in a quieter environment. Equipment, tables, chairs, and other production materials can be seen around them, suggesting that this was happening away from the main performance area. That detail matters because moments captured away from the stage often reveal a completely different side of BTS. Jungkook's expression immediately catches attention. Instead of looking worried or uncomfortable, he appears relaxed, almost amused by what is happening. His posture suggests that he understands the situation and is simply allowing Jin to continue. Meanwhile, Jin appears focused on what he is doing, carefully positioning his hands as though he is trying to secure the material properly. That contrast is exactly what makes the image so intriguing. One member looks completely focused, while the other seems almost entertained by the situation. It creates a moment that feels spontaneous rather than carefully staged. For fans watching the footage, that kind of interaction can be especially fascinating because it highlights the natural chemistry between the two members. But there is another detail that makes the scene even more curious. Jungkook is not simply sitting there with his hands positioned casually. His wrists appear to be connected by a dark strap or material, while Jin is positioned directly behind him. The surrounding environment suggests that something may have been happening as part of a backstage activity, preparation, game, or playful situation. Without the complete context, however, the exact reason for the moment cannot be confirmed from the image alone. And that uncertainty is precisely what keeps people watching. The visual immediately creates a question in the viewer's mind. If this was just an ordinary backstage interaction, why did it attract so much attention? Why did Jin appear to be the one handling the situation? And most importantly, what happened immediately before and after this particular moment? Those unanswered questions turn a simple photograph into something much more compelling. The relationship between Jin and Jungkook has always been filled with playful moments, unexpected reactions, and small interactions that fans love to notice. Their personalities can be very different, yet that difference often makes their interactions even more entertaining. Jin can appear playful and mischievous one moment, while Jungkook can respond with a calm expression that makes the situation even funnier. This particular scene seems to capture exactly that kind of dynamic. Jin's body position suggests that he is concentrating on the task, while Jungkook's expression gives the impression that he is not taking the situation too seriously. There is no obvious sign of panic or resistance in the visible frame. Instead, the moment carries a surprisingly light atmosphere despite the unusual position. That is probably one of the biggest reasons the image stands out. Fans are naturally drawn to moments that feel different from the polished performances they normally see. On stage, every movement can be rehearsed, every camera angle carefully selected, and every performance designed to create a particular impression. Backstage, however, members can simply interact with one another in a more relaxed environment. A small action can therefore become unexpectedly memorable. Jin standing behind Jungkook and appearing to tie his hands creates an unusual visual that immediately demands an explanation. The scene looks almost like the beginning of a story, but the photograph freezes the exact moment before viewers understand the full context. And that is where the curiosity becomes even stronger. What was Jin actually doing? Was it part of a playful backstage activity? Was there something happening off camera that explains why Jungkook was sitting there? Was Jin simply helping Jungkook with something? Or was this one of those spontaneous moments between members that happened so naturally that nobody expected it to become such an interesting scene for fans later? The image itself does not provide a definitive answer, and it is important not to assume details that are not visible. But that does not make the moment less entertaining. In fact, the lack of context is what makes viewers want to see more. Jungkook's reaction is another reason the moment becomes difficult to ignore. His face appears relaxed, and there is a noticeable smile. That small expression changes the entire atmosphere of the image. Without it, the scene could look mysterious or even dramatic. With it, the interaction feels much more playful. Jin also appears to be completely engaged in what he is doing. His hands are positioned carefully, and his attention seems directed toward Jungkook's wrists. The combination of Jin's concentration and Jungkook's relaxed expression creates an almost comedic contrast. It is the kind of interaction that makes fans wonder what was happening just seconds before the camera captured the scene. There is also something fascinating about the setting itself. The black curtains, production equipment, chairs, tables, and backstage supplies create the feeling that viewers are seeing a small moment from behind the scenes. These environments are usually filled with activity, but this particular frame focuses almost entirely on Jin and Jungkook. That makes the interaction feel even more isolated. The camera captures them at a moment when they seem completely absorbed in what is happening between them. Everyone else in the background becomes almost irrelevant. The attention naturally goes toward Jin's hands, Jungkook's expression, and the unusual position of the two members. For ARMY, those little details can be enough to turn an ordinary backstage photograph into a memorable BTS moment. The most interesting part is that nothing about the scene appears overly dramatic. There is no obvious confrontation, no visible tension, and no indication that Jungkook is distressed. Instead, the unusual action is paired with a surprisingly relaxed atmosphere. That contrast is what gives the moment its click-worthy quality. People often expect emotional or dramatic moments to come from major announcements or performances. But sometimes the scenes that generate the most curiosity are the smallest ones. A simple interaction between two members can suddenly become the focus of attention because it reveals their natural behavior when they are away from the stage. This moment has exactly that feeling. Jin appears to be taking care of whatever task is happening in front of him, while Jungkook seems perfectly comfortable letting him continue. Their familiarity is visible through their body language, even without hearing a single word. And yet, the biggest question remains unanswered. What happened next? The photograph captures the moment while Jin is still working with Jungkook's hands. That means viewers are essentially seeing only one piece of a larger sequence. The image does not show what happened immediately afterward, which naturally creates anticipation. Perhaps the situation ended as quickly as it began. Perhaps Jungkook reacted in a way that made the people around them laugh. Perhaps Jin simply finished what he was doing and moved on. Or perhaps there was a completely ordinary explanation behind the entire scene. Whatever the answer may be, the visual reminds fans why BTS backstage moments can be so fascinating. The smallest interactions can reveal humor, trust, familiarity, and the comfortable bond that exists between members. Jin and Jungkook do not need a huge stage or dramatic performance to attract attention. Sometimes, all it takes is one unexpected moment caught at exactly the right time. And this particular moment certainly has that effect. The image leaves viewers with a strange combination of amusement and curiosity. Jin appears serious about what he is doing. Jungkook looks almost amused, and the unusual position of his hands makes the scene impossible to overlook. That is why the moment feels bigger than it initially appears. It is not necessarily about the act of tying Jungkook's hands itself. The real fascination comes from everything surrounding it: the expressions, the setting, the timing, the closeness between the members, and the fact that viewers are seeing only a brief snapshot of what appears to be a longer backstage sequence. Sometimes, the missing seconds are what make a moment unforgettable. And this is exactly where the story becomes even more interesting. Because while fans may immediately focus on Jin tying Jungkook's hands, the more revealing detail could actually be Jungkook's reaction. His calm expression suggests that whatever was happening, he seemed familiar enough with Jin's playful behavior to simply go along with it. That tiny reaction says more than a dramatic expression ever could. It gives the scene a completely different atmosphere and makes viewers want to understand the full context rather than simply judge the image by what appears at first glance. For fans who have followed BTS for years, moments like this can feel especially meaningful because they show the members outside their formal performances. Their friendship and playful interactions are often most noticeable when they are simply being themselves. There is something naturally entertaining about seeing Jin seemingly focused on a task while Jungkook sits there with a smile, as though this unusual situation is completely normal. And perhaps that is the biggest reason this moment has the potential to stay in fans' minds. It feels spontaneous. It feels unexpected. And most importantly, it leaves just enough unanswered to make people want to know more. The image may last only a few seconds, but the curiosity it creates can last much longer. What was the exact reason behind Jin securing Jungkook's hands? What happened just before this frame? And what happened immediately afterward? Those are the details that turn a simple backstage interaction into a moment fans cannot help but replay in their minds. For now, the clearest thing visible is Jin carefully handling Jungkook's hands while Jungkook remains surprisingly relaxed. Everything beyond that should be treated as context that still needs confirmation rather than something to assume. But one thing is certain. The moment is unusual enough to make people stop, look again, and wonder what they missed. And sometimes, that single unanswered question is all it takes to turn an ordinary backstage scene into one of the most talked about moments between Jin and Jungkook.